I'm not going to wait for anybody to get in here. I don't believe anybody's really going to be in here, but there's another crazed individual in New York who had an AR-15 and a high capacity magazine, otherwise known as a standard capacity magazine. And then this crazed individual shot up some people in Manhattan, I believe it was. This is just further proof that criminals do not care about your laws. These anti-gun jurisdictions, anti-self-defense jurisdictions, they have these laws where the criminals are not affected. But the law-abiding citizens are affected. So this guy had an AR-15 with looked to be a 30-round magazine. And I haven't done any research on New York about whether they have assault weapons bans and high-capacity magazine bans, but I'm sure they do. In fact, I'd bet money on it. Well, this guy had not only broken the law in several ways 7 days from Sunday, he just didn't care. And then I think he offed himself at the end of it, which, whatever, man, good riddance. I wish he would have done it before he injured those innocent people. But this is just further proof that, you know, laws that hinder the law-abiding citizen are a benefit to the criminal. And instead of making laws to hinder the law-abiding citizen, we should 100%, we should encourage citizens to get the training necessary to defend themselves. Whatever that training looks like. It could be concealed carry training. It could be active shooter training. It could be whatever it is, right? But ultimately, you need to be able to defend yourself. And you need to be able to recognize danger. Now, this guy had a concealed carry permit from, I believe it was from Nevada. I think he's from Las Vegas there. And I'm not sure how they do their concealed carry permits there. I don't know if there's background checks and so on and so forth, but presumably he probably got the AR-15 legally. I don't believe that he had gotten it illegally. I think he probably got it legally, and he got his concealed carry permit, which means it doesn't matter who flips, right? You can flip. You can have somebody flip for whatever reason, right? You could have somebody who's been vetted every way possible 7 days from Sunday, but they could have things in their life happen. They could have politically motivated ideologies. They could get a divorce, their dog died, you know, custody battles, etc., etc., so on and so forth. You just never know who is going to reach their boiling point, let's call it. And I'm not giving them any excuses, of course, but these are the things that happen not only in these mass shootings, but also for those who want to do self-harm. There's a There's a distinct correlation between somebody who commits a mass shooting and somebody who wants to commit the S word. And we all know what we're talking about here. And when those stressors start piling on top of each other, and you start getting really involved in the political realm, when it comes to whether you're left or right, up or down, gay or straight, black or white, all these other things, you'll go down a rabbit hole and potentially drive yourself mad. The thing about it is that it's all noise, right? This idea that we aren't one people, we aren't, Americans, is abhorrent. Like, and I believe there's some reporting that's unconfirmed where they said free Palestine. Okay, maybe that's the way you think, and that's fine, but it doesn't give you the right to go and injure innocent people. And those innocent people should, and 100% should, learn how to defend themselves. My heart goes out to the families, not only in the shooting in New York, but also the stabbing that happened in, oh man, I can't remember the state right now. It wasn't Minnesota. Anyway, the stabbing that happened for the 11 people, and also the shooting that happened in Reno. Because at the end of the day, those were innocent people that were injured from some crazed individual, and they all have a common theme. It was a crazed individual that did it, and the police show up after the fact. That's undisputed. You cannot dispute that. The police always show up after the fact, even if it's 1 minute after, they always show up after the fact. They're almost never there during the incident, which means it's on you to have the self-awareness, the intestinal fortitude, and the knowledge to defend yourself and others when the situation presents itself. Like the man in during that stabbing, there was an individual had a firearm and decided he was going to stop the mayhem. So kudos to him. So, it's kind of funny how these three incidents happened. It's probably a coincidence, back to back to back. But it's just further proof to say that you have to be able to defend yourself. You have to be willing to do harm to someone who's going to do harm to you. That's basically the bottom line. You should know the law, where you're at. You should know where your parameters are so you don't get yourself in trouble. But at the end of the day, ultimately you just have to have the willingness to do harm to somebody who's going to do harm to you or someone else. And this is my rant on the whole subject, because I would like to do something about it. I don't know what to do. What is there to do exactly, except for try to persuade people who may not have that kind of mentality to get that mentality, to understand that there's crazed individuals all around them. You don't know who's going to attack you, when they're going to attack you, how they're going to attack you, if they're going to attack you, etc., etc., etc. Right now, I'm driving in Colorado Springs, and I'm around Circle Drive. And if you've ever watched the news in Colorado Springs, you would know that the southeastern portion of Colorado Springs is typically the place where shootings happen. But I also know that typically it's going to happen, if it happens, it's going to typically happen at night. That's right, Engineer Wizard. So I'm just saying that to understand your environment, understand where you are, and that the possibility of somebody doing something nefarious to yourself or someone else. In the northern part of the Springs, it's a little safer. It's a lot safer, generally speaking. In the northern part of the Springs, you're going to have more affluent people, more affluent families. In the eastern part of the Springs, like way east, up in the mountains, you're going to have more affluent individuals. But they're not immune to nefarious activity either. Just recently, in my neighborhood, we had a neighbor. Got out of hand with his family, and you could hear it. You could clearly hear it. Again, stressors pushed him over the edge. And for those of you who think, oh, it never happened in my neighborhood, I can't believe this I can't believe this happened. Who would have done this? You got your damn head in the sand. And you likely think that, nobody could ever do anything so heinous, which is completely baffling considering human history. We have a tendency to harm each other in the masses. I'm talking about human history. I'm talking about worldwide. Governments oppressing people, gangs committing murders, rapes, etc. You just never know. You never know who's going to do what, when, where, or how. So you should carry. And if you don't carry, at least get the training to understand the law, understand what your left and right limits are for self-defense, and find a reputable instructor. Okay? Now I have to admit something to you guys. Like, when I first started doing the concealed carry training here in Colorado, you didn't have to teach anything when it came to the law. You had to do zero when it came to the law. All you had to do was do some safety training and issue a certificate that said the individual that conducted the training now had pistol safety training. Okay? Well, the law changed 1 July. And since the law changed 1 July, now certified instructors that are going to teach the concealed carry for Colorado has to teach the law, interaction with law enforcement, et cetera, et cetera. And because beforehand, I was a little bit naive and ignorant of the laws. And now I think I have a pretty good grasp on what my left-right limits are when it comes to self-defense. And I think that I can convey that same message to my customers. And it really is. It's law. Then you're doomed to do something that could put you in prison or jail. You got to get into the mentality that there's going to be somebody somewhere that's going to do you harm at some point in time. Whether you do it or not, whether it happens or not is a different story. Okay, but you have a fire extinguisher probably in your house, where you should anyway. It happens in case it does happen. You have uh, you have life vests and boats, not because it's going to flip. It's because in case the boat flips, you have the life vest. The same thing is true when you get for just self-defense training. You're not doing it because you think something's going to happen. You're doing it in case something does happen. And that's the similarities there. Well, you're just being paranoid. No, I'm not being paranoid. I understand individuals out there. There are individuals out there that will and can do you harm even if they don't know you. So, like I always say, you have to avoid the situation. But if you can't avoid the situation, try to deter the situation. If you can't deter the situation, you have to be prepared to defend yourself with deadly physical force. And understanding the difference between deadly force and physical force is very important. Anyway, I don't know. I'm really pissed off about these last 3 incidences because I know there's people out there that could have done something about it but didn't because they were scared, or maybe they didn't have the training, or they didn't have the mentality to do something. And also, in regards to New York, there's zero doubt that those citizens there, even if they wanted to do something, the laws probably make them think twice about doing something, even though they would be in the right. And that's disheartening, because here in Colorado, we have lawmakers up in Denver that couldn't defend themselves from a fly, that are telling the rest of Colorado that they can't defend themselves, or they're against firearms. Because mark my words, it's 8 hours of training today. Tomorrow it'll be 16 hours. Just like California. California used to be 8 hours. Now it's 16 hours. And they have the gun roster and so on and so forth, right? Now they're trying to do micro stamping. All these different things that are going to affect you, the citizen, and prevent you from actually exercising your Second Amendment right. Yeah, so I'm a little bit pissed, man, to say the least. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed my rant, because that's what it was. It's just a rant, and I hope there was some wisdom in there you could take, some nuggets that you can take with you and defend yourself. Anyway, that's pretty much all I have for that topic. I still have a little bit of ways to drive, so let's talk about the Sig P320 real quick. Completely changing topic, but the Sig P320 is obviously, there's something going on. Whatever that is, I don't know what it is, but there's something going on with the 320 And my disappointment in Sig is that I think they're handling this situation they have completely wrong. I think that Sig, just like a car manufacturer, I think the Sig should say, okay, look, there's going to be a safety recall. Everyone send all their freaking P320s in. We're going to fix whatever this is. We're going to do our due diligence. Because I think what's going to come out is that Sig is going to be held liable for this. Whether, and it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. It doesn't really matter if it was negligence on the individual or individuals' parts. There's just so much smoke right now that Sig should 100% say, okay, you know what? There's something going on. We're going to look into it, and we're going to recall all the Sig P320s, and we're going to make sure that this doesn't happen again, because it's not happening with any other company. There's no one out there shooting themselves in the foot or the leg with a Glock or a Smith & Wesson or a Ruger. At least not to the frequency that these allegations are coming down on Sig. So I'm not sure that I would buy a Sig again. I bought a Sig, and I enjoy it. I do enjoy it, but the thing about it is that the company is just handling this shit all wrong. They should take responsibility and say, you know what, we're going to look into this. We're going to make sure that we aren't at fault. And if we are at fault, we're going to make amends, and we're going to make this right. But they're not doing that. They're adamantly saying there's nothing wrong with the gun when there's allegation after allegation after allegation after allegation, so on and so on, so on and so on. Now there's an airman that's dead. There's all these, there's smoke. Saley, there's smoke. So I just think Sig as a company is not handling this correctly. And if they just pull their head out of their fourth point of contact, those who are airborne understand what I'm talking about. If they can pull their head out of their fourth point of contact, they can turn this around. And I'm not sure they will. Now that I'm stopped, I'm going to stop this live feed. And again, I hope you guys enjoy this rant. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can holler at me. Complaints, if you disagree with me, that's great. I enjoy a good argument. Also, if you need or want self-defense insurance coverage, whatever you want to call it, I'm an AR member. I'm also an affiliate. I believe in the product that they have. My link will be below. Click the link, use the code, copy and paste the code in there. It really helps us out.